Well, hello, and welcome to the June 2020 garden video from East Monkton, Vermont. We are in the midst of a very busy gardening season since we basically started from scratch. Last time we sent out a video was on Mother's Day back on May 10th, and our two garden beds had been constructed and filled with topsoil and compost, but they were empty. Mother's Day morning we had some snow on the ground, and but later on that week we were able to get our cold weather bed planted with some of the cold weather crops we'll show you right now, and then in late May, right around Memorial Day, we were able to plant the warm weather bed with tomatoes, peppers, and so forth, which we'll show you. We did get hit with a light frost on June 1st, which did some damage to some squash plants, but they survived and are coming back just fine. What we're doing with the raised beds is we are in the process of, we took a seminar, I think I told you about that in May, a seminar through Gardener Supply, which is just up the road here in Williston, Vermont. It was an online seminar. And they also have a planning tool for these raised beds, and these beds are fairly closely planted together because they're created out of 2x12 hemlock, so there's almost a foot of soil in them. No one's ever walked on it or compacted it. It's very loose and light and fluffy, so we can plant fairly compactly. And on the Gardener Supply website, there is a free tool for planting a garden, and what you can put in it per square foot. So we've basically used their formula for that. We have used that formula for how many tomato plants per square foot, how many bean plants per square foot, things of that nature, and it's just made a big difference for us. So we'll head on down and we'll take a look at what we've got and where we're going, and mostly it's been a real good success, and I think part of that is dumb luck because it's the first year with this soil, so there are none of the organisms or insects in the soil that can cause you serious problems. That'll catch up with us later on, I think. But in any event, we did most of our planting was from seedlings that we bought. We bought from two main suppliers here. One is Red Wagon Plants, that's based up in Heinsberg, about 15 minutes away. And they do a lot of wholesaling. In fact, they supply Gardener Supply with plants and many of the local grocery stores and other farm stands, as well as hardware stores and things like that who sell plants, and they all come from Red Wagon. And then the second supplier we used, because we couldn't find everything we wanted at Red Wagon because of demand this year, which is way up, was a farm called Full Belly Farm, which is right here in Moncton, about 10 minutes away, if that. And a young couple started it a few years back, and they do you-pick blueberries, you-pick strawberries. They sell produce. They bring in meats and cheeses from other local providers. They sell plants, do their own plants. So that's where we went for our second wave of plants. So we'll be able to show you all of that as well. So we did some things from seed, and maybe next year we'll do more, but we're not really sure about that. All we know is that we want to have a successful garden and have it be fun. It's a lot smaller than the gardens that I used to deal with some 20-25 years ago, but we'll work into it and stop expanding each year as we see fit. So let's move on and see what we have. So what we've done with our two beds is we have surrounded them with plastic poultry netting as a substitute for the traditional metal chicken wire, because we have big bunnies around here, and we don't need the bunnies coming in and making a nighttime meal of everything we've planted. We also have a pug here in the home, as you know, many of you know, and we don't need Tashi hopping up there to investigate and see what's going on. So, and it's very convenient because it keeps the animals out, and yet at the same time we can just come in and pick up and take it down like so, and it gives us easy access to do weeding and harvesting, fertilizing, anything we need to do. So this is our cold weather bed that we started with right here, and just to show you, we'll just go row by row with what we've got. We have carrots that we purchased seeds from Red Wagon plants. These are Napoli carrots. They're a shorter variety because it's going to take some time for the sod to break down under these beds. They're a little small. We fertilized them. We've had extraordinarily dry weather, and I think that's handicapped a few things. In the entire month of June, and right now we are just a few days shy of the summer solstice, we have had 0.027 or less than a quarter of an inch of rain in the month of June, and in the last half of May we only had a quarter of an inch. So we're below a half an inch for the last 5 weeks, which is really nothing. We've had to be doing an awful lot of this stuff on our watering on our own, and I've got a drip irrigation system. You can see that I picked up from Gardener Supply, which we run, but I'm not sure how effective that is. It's not effective on seedlings, on seeds, but it is effective on plants. Next in line we have radishes, which we've been harvesting for several weeks. These are French breakfast radishes, which are just beautiful. They've been doing really, really well. They've been pretty well thinned out, and now it looks like about time to pull out a whole bunch more. Up here we have some onion plants that we planted that are red storage onions. We'll see how well they do. Next over, going back down to the left here, these are beet plants. We bought plants. I had never known you could plant beets from seedlings, and we did. And this is a mix called Beet Medley, and it's got gold beets, or you can see the golden beets down in here, red, pink, and they are doing just great. I mean, we've got some that are an inch across in here, so it won't be long before we can start harvesting those. And then next to them, we planted from seeds some Detroit dark red beets. That's a old standard from many years ago. I did transplant some of those thinnings, and they're having a little bit of trouble because of the dryness. We'll see how they do. And then up at the end here we have a bunch of herbs. We go through a lot of herbs during the course of the year. So we have oregano and basil. This is some lemon verbena right here that was given to me by Carolyn. We have some thyme tucked back in here. A beautiful tall dill plant that I'm going to have to prune because it's about to blossom, and I don't want it to blossom. I want to get it drying. And then on the other side of the dill we have some marjoram as well, and we use a lot of that. We've already got basil, oregano, marjoram, and thyme drying inside. I want to get as much dried herbs as I can this summer, and then move the plants in for the winter so we have fresh herbs as well. And we're going to try this year also freezing dill and basil, because I understand that works really well. And even though the texture isn't the same when you use it in a recipe, after thawing, it is the flavor is almost like it's fresh. So we're going to try that out. But I need to do some cleanup here. I do not want that to bloom. I don't want dill seed. I want dill weed. Coming around to the other side of this bed here, we'll take down our fence. We have in row 3 some turnips. These are purple top turnips, and again, whoops, got caught on the string. I don't know if we can see what's down in there or not, but the purple top turnips, they're doing very well and have been thinned out. Below that we have some lettuce seeds. These are miniature head and leaf lettuces that were planted, which we're gonna, you can see there's some good size ones starting to grow in here, and we've been doing some thinning on those. And here we have some Butter Crunch, the 3 remaining Butter Crunch heads. We bought 4 plants. Right, I got interrupted there. I'm having trouble with this old iPhone 6 we're using for filming with overheating in the sun, so I'm going to try and keep it in my shadow here. But anyway, we bought 4 each of Butter Crunch head lettuces. We've harvested 5. These remaining 3 are about ready to go. Fortunately, the broccoli is helping to shield some of them from the sun, but we've had a great harvest of lettuce so far. The broccoli in the next row is a variety called Arcadia. It's a little bit of a later variety for forming its heads. It's very healthy with what's going on in here, but at the same time no sign of heads yet, so they will start to come along shortly. And then we have just above the broccoli we have peas. These are a variety, a sugar snap pea. They're super sugar snaps that we actually ordered from Burpee Seed. They're doing all right. They're not as tall as I thought they would be by now, but I think that the dryness has hurt a bit, and maybe I'm being a little bit not heavy-handed enough on the organic fertilizer. Everything in here, by the way, the seedlings as well as the fertilization and so forth, is all organic so far, and we're hoping to keep it that way. Coming over to bed number 2, the warm weather bed. This one is not 100% planted yet. We'll take an overview first. On the left we have an empty row. That soon is going to be a double row of Blue Lake bush beans, which we've already got a double row going right next to them, and when they get a little bit taller and ready, we'll plant a succession planting right next to them. We have a few herbs over here. We have some see if we can get down in the shade here. We have some parsley, and we have some rosemary, which is all doing quite well. And then we have our pepper plants down the side, and the pepper plants are, we have 4 varieties. We have on the end here jalapeno pepper, and then we have a chili pepper. Then we have a yellow, I think it's Yellow Sensation it's called, right here, a yellow sweet pepper. We have a red Night sweet pepper right here, and then 2 new Ace peppers, which are traditional green bell peppers, which should be coming along. They're starting to set fruit. They're all blooming, so everybody's looking good. We got these in right around Memorial Day. They did manage to survive the light frost without any damage. I'll show you what the frost did a little further down the row here. So coming over to the last row here in this bed, we have our tomatoes. We have 8 tomato plants, 1 per square foot, which is, they're really kind of packed in. The plants are looking great. They're all blooming. These 2 on this end are Marzano, San Marzano, that are blooming but no fruit set yet. Those are San Marzanos are a paste tomato, so we're looking to get some good sauce from those. This one here is a grape tomato, a grape cherry. Again, no fruit yet. Next to it is another cherry. It's called indigo cherry, and we do actually have a little bit of fruit here. If I can get this in here for you to see. It's a little tough, but it's a blue-green, still not fully ripened, but a blue, reddish, or purple fruit. And then we have this variety here is called, not Big Boy, but Big Beef, which is a big slicing tomato, which should come along. And next to it, we have 2 Better Boys, which are also hybrids of the Big Boy family, which should do very well for slicing tomatoes. So they're all doing quite well. One other thing we did over here with our tomatoes, we wanted to get more head lettuce growing. And what happened, of course, is that as you move into summer, head lettuce is harder to grow because it wants to bolt. So I bought 4 more plants up at Red Wagon Plants of a romaine type, light green on the outside and almost blanched white on the inside. And the instructions, the one cool thing about Red Wagon is that they grow everything locally. They print their own labels, and their labels are all keyed for Vermont, for the local climate. And they suggest that these should be grown in part to full shade, which is really odd. So what we did is we planted them in between and under our tomatoes right here. And so there are 4 of these romaine plants tucked underneath and getting filtered sunlight, and we hope that they will do well and not get blown out by the hot sun. We'll find out. It's interesting. There's a lot of plants that are packaged in a small space in these beds, which is really great. And now, moving down to this bed. This bed was here. It was way overgrown, and Mary spent a lot of effort last fall cleaning it out. We'll get it boarded up like the others at some point. But this is where we put squash. We have, on the right, we have zucchini, which is starting to bloom. On the left, we have acorn. And these guys were victimized by the frost on June 1st. You can see right on the top of that zucchini plant a crumpled up dried leaf. All of the exterior leaves, all of the really basically the leaves that come up with the plant when they first germinate were destroyed on all 8 of these plants. And but the inner core was fine, and it took a little bit of time, but you can see they've come back and they're doing quite well. And then finally down here we have some blueberry bushes. We have 3, or 2.5 actually. 2 of these were small, and we bought them as a fundraiser from a Otter Creek Conservation Fund. They're Patriot blueberries. There's actually some berries on there, but they're very small. They're not going to do anything this year. We're just getting them started. We bought a third plant, a second variety, Jersey, and planted this just the other day. It actually has a few berries as well. But again, this is for the future. We'd love to have a nice blueberry patch here like we had in Underhill. It was great. And this one on the right, unfortunately, some animal got in the other day and cut the stems right off, right through the woody part. It's going to survive, but I have no idea what did it. I have not seen that before, but there's always a first time. So, in any event, here we are, looking out on farmland and marshland. We've had a great time enjoying all of the activity of the waterfowl and other life. We put up a couple of bird houses this year, hoping to get bluebirds, but both of them were taken over by tree swallows, and they've got nests in there now, and I think there's babies in there that are getting fed, and they're very active and territorially defensive, as are all the nesting birds that are around here. We have dozens of red-winged blackbirds out in the marsh nesting. We have a couple of families of American eastern kingbirds nesting, among other things. And what's interesting about all of this is the other day a crow decided to come into the backyard, and the crow was ganged up on by the swallows, the kingbirds, and the red-winged blackbirds. And he didn't want to leave, but he ultimately had no choice. It was fascinating. Now, there's some other activity going on here as well. As you know, from May, we had a excavator in to work on a pond, and that continues to be a work in progress, and we'll go take a look at that right now. So here we are with our nice pond, which we have spent, or I should say, Mary has spent much energy and effort working on and building and planting and shaping, and we've got grass coming up around where the excavation work was done. She put in all the stones. We have planted a number of shrubs and perennials. We have a redbud bush out there. We have a elderberry bush. We have what's called a eustaberry, which it's spelled like just a berry, but it's a hybrid of what, boysenberries and currants, and great for jams and things of that sort, and preserves. We've got a stilby, we have bee balm, we have delphinium, and I forget, bellflowers I think they're called. I never can remember, those blue ones sitting out there. But you can see what a lovely place to sit and have lunch or cocktails at the end of the day. it's just really fantastic. We've got lily pads growing out there, and there are buds coming up for flowers through the water. We've got pond iris, we have pond lettuce, we have water hydrangea, which is blooming. It's just great, and we are very fortunate to live in this spot and be able to have our vegetable garden down to the right. We have a little fire pit area here, so we feel very fortunate to be where we are. And in dealing with the coronavirus for the last several months, for those of us who are retired and don't have to go out, what a painless place to be in quarantine. It's just been great. Our one complaint right now is the dryness. Everything is drying out. We have to hand water every day to keep these new plants going, which we'll do, but we would love to see some natural participation as well. So that's it from East Monkton in June. We'll be checking back in July, and expect by then we may have some peas, we may have some beans coming, and some other stuff, squash we hope. We'll be getting in the second planting of beans shortly. We're prepared for a second planting of peas should we need it, and the rest of the things should just keep on going throughout the season. So we feel we're off to a very good start, and we're very fortunate, and we hope everyone else is doing well, and we will see you next month. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.